Hello and welcome to this ballet conditioning workout. Today we're going to focus on stretching. So gather a few supplies. If you have yoga blocks, find your yoga blocks. I'm going to be using a lacrosse ball, but if you don't have one available, a tennis ball will work too. A chair would be helpful, especially like a kitchen style chair would probably be best. And then you also may choose to use a mat depending on your surface. I have nice soft carpet here, so I'm not going to be using my mat today, but if you're on a hard floor, you might appreciate having a mat. So go gather your supplies, and then we will start with a warm-up. It's important to be thoroughly warmed up when you stretch, so let's start with our warm-up. We're going to do 40 jumping jacks first. Ready? 10, 20, 30, 40. Put your arms together, run in place. Knees up high. Step out to second position and do a grand plie. And let's repeat this one more time. 10, 20, 30, 40. Run in place. Stepping out to second. Bring your feet together, interlace your fingers, and reach them forwards. Bring them up over your head. Release the arms, tuck your chin, and then begin rolling down one vertebrae at a time. Feel your spine rounding. Bend your knees. And stretch. And bend your knees. Feel your tailbone tuck under and stack up your spine one vertebra at a time, rounding through the spine. We're going to do this one more time. I'm going to turn sideways so you can see what my spine is doing. Tuck the chin and rounding down. So each vertebrae is peeling down one at a time, keeping the spine as round as possible. Let your head hang. Feel the back of the neck relax. Bend the knees. As you straighten, feel your tailbone reach up towards the ceiling. And then bend the knees. Keep the head heavy here. And stack the vertebra up one at a time, building up through your spine. Good. Take an inhale, reach the arms up. And exhale, bring them down. Starting with your shoulders, you're going to circle forward, up, back, and down. And forward, up, back, and down. Forward, up, back, and down. Last time, forward, up, back, and down. Step out wide to second. You're going to reach your arm up and over and feel this stretch through the side of the body here. From here, you're going to round just your upper body. So tuck in your chin, keep your pelvis in alignment, just curving through the upper body. And then reach over to the other side. Feel that length through this arm. And then tuck the chin, round forwards, stack the spine up, lengthen the arms, and bring them down. Come to a seated position, and let's begin with a roll down with your spine. So you're going to tuck the chin, rounding forwards. Feel your chin relax into your chest, then bring your fingers out in front of you, and you're going to slowly walk your fingers out in front of you as you roll down. So my spine is staying very round at the moment. My arms are just relaxed down towards the floor. Then I'm going to build up through each vertebra, stacking up the spine. Feel this length through the top of the head. This time we're going to hinge the spine forward instead of rounding. So I'm going to keep the spine as straight as possible, pulling up out of my hips here, reaching the arms forward and taking my spine forward on an angle. Reaching out as far as I can, stretching through those fingertips. And once I've gone as far as possible, then I can gently round down towards the floor. Walking the hands back. Bring the legs up and switch sides. First, we'll do the round spine. Tuck the chin, rounding forwards. Feel the chin. It might be touching your chest. You get lots of stretch. I'm feeling it through my upper back here especially. You might feel it in your neck. Build the spine back up. Find that stretch, like the spine is being lifted up and grounded with your tailbone. And then you're going to hinge forward with a straight spine. Walk the hands out in front of you and keep the spine as long as possible. At the very end, you can relax the head and shoulders downwards. And then walk the hands back up. So our next stretch, we have a few options. Depending on how tight your hamstrings are at the moment, you have 3 different options. Option 1, you can sit on the block like this. If you don't have a block, find a big book, something that boosts you up a few inches, and you can stretch forward like this. This is a good option, especially if your hamstrings are fairly tight. Option 2, you can sit on the floor and reach forwards. Option 3, you can put the block under your heels. Now I want you to watch if you have the tendency to hyperextend, if your knees can go down towards the floor more than mine, then you don't want to do this option. Stick with your feet on the floor because we don't want to lock the knees back here. So whichever option you're doing, you're going to stretch upwards, reach the arms, and lengthen out towards the toes. I'm trying to keep the spine as flat as possible. If you find yourself really rounded, try legs on the floor or try sitting on the block. If possible, reaching past your toes. Imagine somebody's holding your fingertips and stretching them out in front of you even more. Lengthening back up. Again, for this next one, you can stay on the block. You can keep your heels on the block. I'm going to remove the block for this one so that I don't push down and hyperextend my knee. I'm going to cross this ankle over the thigh, lengthen up. I take the opposite hand. I'm going to angle a little bit so you can see what I'm doing here. Cross it over and reach for your calf, your ankle, or your little toe. If possible, you can even reach past your little toe. I feel my lumbar spine here trying to lengthen forwards so I'm not stuck back here. And coming up, switch sides. First, I lengthen the spine up, opposite hand crosses, go to your calf or your ankle or your little toe, or reach as far past as possible. Bring the feet together, pull them in close to you, lengthening up and hinging forward. I'm going to use my elbows to press my legs down a little bit more. If that's too much pressure, then just place your hands on the floor instead. If possible, try to connect your forehead to the floor or to your toes. And lengthening back up. For our next stretch, we're going to be on one knee. This is a good time to use your mat if you're on a hard floor. You can even fold it a few times to create a little bit more of a cushion for your knee. I'm going to use my chair as a balancing point, but you also could do this without a chair. So come up to this knee. Feel your hip bones square and pointing forwards. Feel your tailbone pointing down. Try not to go back into this position because then our pelvis is not in alignment. So you want to lift and lengthen through the front of the hip and point the tailbone downwards more. I'm feeling a stretch in the front of the hip here. If you don't feel it, check and see if your hips are twisted or if you're pitched back this way. If you feel balanced here, you can bring the hands right to the base of your spine and the top of your butt and push forwards a little bit, getting a little more intensity into that stretch. And then let's switch sides. So check your hip bones, point them forward like headlights. Try to keep this hip down. Feel this length up in the front, tailbone down in the back, balancing with your chair or placing your hands right at the base of your spine. I'm also thinking about pulling my belly button in towards my spine while I do this stretch, and that helps to support my low back so I don't feel pain here. All right, for this next stretch, I'm going to keep this knee on the floor, bring the chair a little bit closer to me, and I'm going to place my heel up on the chair. If your chair feels a little too high for you, grab a block, put it under your knee. I'm pretty tall, so I don't need to do that. You're going to feel this leg rotating outwards. So this is using a turned out leg here, almost like your attitude front position. I lengthen up through the spine and feel the stretch. I'm feeling a stretch back here. You might feel it in your hamstring. Then without moving my pelvis, I'm going to tuck my chin and just roll down halfway with my neck and my upper thoracic spine. And pause right here. Still feel your abdominals pulling in. Try to keep this thigh opening to the side. And then stack up the spine and switch to the other side. So I put my heel up on the chair. I'm keeping my foot flexed. And then you can hold on to the chair here for your balance. Feel this rotation outwards. Feel this length through the front of the hip, belly button to spine, tailbone points down, not sticking out back here. You might need to hold on to the chair so your leg doesn't tip it over. And then nod the chin, keeping your lower body in alignment, just rounding through the top of the head and the upper back. Stacking up your spine. And then bringing the knees down. This next stretch is a little bit tricky, so go ahead and watch first. You're going to place your elbows onto your chair. Hands go together. I'm going to angle my chair forward a little bit because I think it will be easier for you to see. Then I'm going to tuck my head underneath the chair or as close as you can get to that position. I'm going to press my hands down towards my upper back. I'm not crossing them. Just keep them like this. Then I'm going to check on my ribs and my abdominals. I want to tuck my ribs in and then press my armpits down at the same time. So I don't want to be stuck up here and I don't want to be collapsed down here. I want to feel those abs engaged, but press down and feel like my armpits are reaching towards the floor. Coming out of this position, reach your hands out in front of you and then hinge back into a child's pose. Our next stretch is going to target the hamstrings. So you're going to reach one leg out in front of you. Place your hands down on the floor. If your knee's still a little bit bent, that's fine. You want to just work on lengthening the hamstring as much as you can. So you're here, if possible, straighten the knee, and then feel your body rest down towards the leg. Your goal is to connect your torso with your leg rather than be up and rounded like this. But do the best that you can. Then you're going to rock back and sit on your heel. If this is uncomfortable for your knee, then stay in the previous position. For me, I like to flex the foot, and I'm going to reach my hand to the opposite side and stretch forwards. And then let's switch to the other side. Bring this leg in front of you. Hands come down, trying to keep this hip sliding back so we're not twisted. And then hinge your body towards the leg as much as possible. Straightening the knee if possible. And then sitting back as long as that doesn't bother your knee. Reach the opposite arm and rest your body towards your leg. Then bring your hands forward and your leg back. Tuck your toes under and press up to downward dog. Feel your ribs tuck in and your armpits reach towards the floor, while your tailbone lengthens up towards the ceiling. Then rest into child's pose. For this stretch, get out your yoga blocks. If you don't have yoga blocks, you can still do the stretch on the floor, or you could get a hard pillow or a thick book. That would work as well. You're going to bring one block to each side. Put your knee here and your other knee here. And like I said, you can also do this on the floor. Hold yourself either on your hands or down on your elbows. And then as you're here, you're going to take a few deep breaths. I'm keeping a straight line from this knee through this hip, and all the way through the other knee. So I'm not way forward, I'm not sitting back. And then just let yourself relax into this position. I'm keeping my abdominals supported here, so I'm not dumping here because that would put a lot of stress on my low back. If it's comfortable for you, you're going to come up to your hands, keep those abdominals lifting up and in, and gently look upwards. And then bring your knees off of the blocks. Next, we're going to sit in a straddle position. I'm going to turn sideways. Now, you have a few options for this. You can sit in your straddle. If you want something a little bit more challenging, you can take a block, put it on the wall like this, and then put your heel on this side up against the block. And you want to be right against the wall so that your foot stays flexed. And then from there, you're going to go in to your straddle. If that feels too intense, just sit in a regular straddle. Take this arm, reaching up and over, lengthening towards that foot. Check and make sure your arm's not too far in front of your body. You want to bring it up over your ear. If possible, reach for your little toe and then look under this arm. Sitting up straight. We're going to do the same stretch again, but we're going to bend this leg in. So I take this leg in, bring it close to me. I'm still keeping this thigh as far open as possible, and I'm thinking about pressing it down so that my knee gets closer to the floor. Reaching up and over, As you reach, check and see if your leg is lifting up. Try to open it down towards the floor. So I find this one a little more challenging. I can't quite reach my foot, but if you can, go ahead and grab onto your foot. Looking under the arm. This time I feel more stretch through the side here. And then come up to sitting. Let's switch to the other side. So if you're already sitting in your straddle, you can just stay there. If you're using the block on the wall, then switch to the other foot. Lengthening up and over. If possible, grab your foot and look under this arm. Coming back up, bend this leg in. Check your spine. You want to really feel this length up through the spine. Try not to slouch backwards here. Reaching up and over. Grab your foot if possible. Think about this knee pressing down towards the floor. All right, then if you have your foot up on the block, you're going to remove it from the block. Go into your straddle, pressing forwards, and then you're going to walk your hands forwards, however far you can reach, and hold it. If you can roll all the way on top of your split, then go ahead and do that. And then press back up. This next stretch will target our hamstrings. You're going to lay down, pull this knee into your chest. Before we go into the stretch, I want you to check and make sure that your spine is relaxed onto the floor and you're keeping it attached to the floor. Then you're going to gently straighten the bottom leg. Pull this knee into your chest. Just hold it here and breathe for a couple breaths. If your hamstrings feel tight at all here, just think about relaxing them. Then, without lifting your hip, you're going to slowly lengthen this leg. If you can't straighten it all the way yet, just keep it a little bit bent and pull it in towards you. If you are able to lengthen behind that knee without twisting and lifting this hip up, then go ahead and stretch the leg fully. You can also hold here, whatever feels more comfortable. Try not to grab directly on your knee because we don't want to be pulling on our knees like that. So hold under where your hamstrings are, or you can hold your calf muscles. Flex this foot. Think about your toes reaching down towards your forehead and your heel reaching up towards the ceiling. You might feel the stretch get a little more intense back here. Bend your knee. Take your opposite hand. Reach around for your little toe. You can bend the knee more if that makes it easier. Then from here, you're going to slowly straighten the leg as far as possible. So you might not get very far, that's all right. You're still going to probably feel this stretching. If possible, straighten a little more. And notice if you have any twisting or lifting of this hip, you're trying to keep this hip bone reaching down that way. And this sits bone is reaching out towards the other toe. Then you're going to bend this knee. I'm still using my opposite hand here, holding just below my knee, pulling it across my body. I reach this hand out so that I'm getting a nice twisting stretch through the spine. This knee is getting closer to the floor. This shoulder is trying to stay on the floor. As you come back up, you're going to turn this leg out. Take your bottom leg, pull it in until your knee connects with your ankle or the top of your thigh or bottom of your thigh here. Take your hands, grab around the bottom leg, and then you're going to pull it closer to you. Notice if you feel your butt lifting up off the floor. You want to try to keep it attached to the floor, abs pulled in, and just pull your legs in. Untwist the legs, hold both knees into your chest. Now we're going to switch to the other side. So whichever leg you just did, you're going to take the other leg, lengthen it out here. Now I'm holding my left leg. If you're on your right, then hold your right leg. Let that hamstring relax first if it feels a little tense. Then slowly straighten the leg as far as it will go. Hold on to the hamstring, or if it's more comfortable, hold on to your calf. Knee can be bent or straight. The most important thing is that you feel this stretching. It's not that you straighten the leg, because sometimes if you straighten and you end up twisting, then you're not in the ideal position for stretching this hamstring. As you hold the stretch, you might notice that you can pull your leg 1 or 2 inches closer to you. Then you're going to go ahead and flex your top foot. Think about your toes reaching down towards your forehead, heel reaching up towards the ceiling. Take this opposite hand, hold on to the outside of your calf, outside of your hamstring, or if you can reach your little toes, grab your little toes. Go ahead and bend this knee. Keep that opposite hand. Take the leg across your body. This hand is going to reach out the other direction, and you're going to feel a twisting stretch through the muscles that support your spine. As you bring the leg back in, you're going to turn it out. Take the bottom leg, pull it in to catch your ankle here. Bring your arms through to grab around this thigh and gently pull it in, only as far as you can go without your butt starting to come off the floor. And then hug both knees into your chest and just roll side to side. Feel all of your muscles relaxing. Our next stretch is going to target the spine. We're going to try it 2 different ways. So the first way is you're going to separate your legs a little bit wider than your shoulders. Go ahead and flex your feet. Feel your spine lengthen up first. Then you're going to tuck your chin, round your head. Your goal here is to round your spine as much as possible. It's not to feel your hamstring stretching. In fact, if it helps, you can even bend your knees a little bit while you do this stretch. So I want to feel like I'm trying to connect the top of my head to my inside of my thighs here. And you're getting lots of curve in your spine. So you should feel these small muscles that support your spine getting a nice stretch. Stacking up the spine. Let's try it one more time. Keep the knees bent if that's more comfortable, or keep them straight if that's what you prefer. Rounding down, getting as much curve as possible. I'm letting my shoulders just kind of hang down and stay relaxed. If you think about belly button pulling into the spine, you might be able to get a little bit deeper into this stretch. Then you're going to stack the spine up. You can try it again this way, or you can send your feet over your head to do a rollover stretch. So if you want to do the rollover, bring your legs up to the ceiling, bench or straight, doesn't matter. Put your hands by your sides. Then you're going to reach your toes up and over and tap the floor. Flex your feet. Again, knees can be bent or straight. Doesn't make much difference because what we're targeting right now is the spine. And then you're going to round down and feel each vertebra connecting to the floor. Reach your legs out to the diagonal, and let's try this again. Flexing the feet. This time, try bending your knees and bringing them closer to your ears and closer to the floor. Then lengthen the legs, flex the feet again, and rounding the spine back into the floor. Bend your knees into your chest. Hold onto your legs here just gently. I'm just gently supporting them, and I'm going to circle out my ankles. And reverse the circles. And then shake out your legs. Next, we're going to use the lacrosse ball or your tennis ball. And we're going to use this to roll out. We're going to target right here where the top of the hamstring meets the bottom of your butt. And then we're going to bring the ball around and go around where some of your rotator muscles are. So basically, we're going to roll out this whole area. Sitting down, you're going to take the ball and place it right where your leg meets your butt. And then you're going to sit down into it, and you're going to feel some pressure here, feeling the muscles stretch. From here, I'm going to gently roll back and forth, and you're going to put as much weight as possible on the ball. If it becomes too painful, roll off of it a little bit and use a little less weight. Then I'm going to gradually shift the ball. This time I'm going to pull it farther to the side. You might have to roll over onto that leg a little bit more. Now I'm going to bring the ball a little bit higher, and I'm going to come a little more to my side. If you can tolerate it, you can put quite a bit of weight onto the ball. Now I'm going to roll it back this way a little bit, so I'm adjusting my body. And I'm going to shift the ball a little bit farther back. Now it's going in, it's not to my tailbone yet, but it's getting closer. And go a little closer. Don't go directly on your tailbone though, because that won't feel good. You can shift it around a little bit. If you find a spot that's tender, just pause there, see if you can sink a little more weight into it. Try to let your muscles relax. If you're tensing them, it's not going to feel very good. And then let's shift to the other side. So I'm going to start with it kind of in the middle here, and then I'm going to sit up onto that leg, just gently moving it back and forth. I'm going to move it farther towards the inside of my leg. And then I'm going to bring it more towards the outside. And then keep going around the edge here. So now I'm going to roll up on to the ball a little bit and keep adjusting. So now I'm kind of right in the middle of my butt cheek here. And now I'm bringing it closer to my tailbone. And a little closer yet. And then I bring the ball a little bit lower. And then you can shift around, figure out what feels tight for you. We don't have time for it in this video, but I often use the ball through my sacrum here. I take it on either side of my spine, and I go all the way up, very gently and slowly, shifting through each point. We are going to try it between the shoulder blades so you can see what that feels like. But if you find that this stretching technique works for you, then go ahead and try on your own time using it along your erector spinae muscles here that support your spine. So go ahead and place the ball down. You're going to position it so it's right between your shoulder blade and your spine. You don't want to be directly on the spine. But then you're going to gently roll back and forth. Just kind of let this arm relax. And figure out where you have tender spots. And really try to feel your muscles like relax down onto the ball, not staying tense here. I'm going to take it a little bit higher up, so that means I'm going to roll my body down, because that's where my shoulder is feeling tight today. And then I kind of roll it right up against the ridge of my shoulder blade here. Move that arm a little bit. Figure out what helps you find the best stretch. And then let's try the other side. Resting this arm. And then again, pushing your body weight into the ball as much as possible, but if it becomes too intense, then let off a little bit. I'm going to slide the ball up a little bit higher. Almost like I feel like I'm trying to get it underneath my scapula here. It won't actually go under your scapula, but it kind of gets those muscles right at the edge there. Let's take the ball now and roll out the arch of your foot. So I'm going to stand up. If you want something to balance, go ahead and grab your chair so you have something to hang on to. You're going to press the arch of your foot down into the ball and just roll it back and forth. If you find a spot that's tender, you can go ahead and try to put all of your weight onto the ball. If you're holding onto something, you may even be able to pick up your other foot. And switch to the other side. We're going to do another stretch with our blocks. If you don't have a block, you can do this on a staircase, but please do it on the bottom step so you don't fall down the stairs. So you're going to place your block here. Move your chair or something to hold on to. And then you're going to put the ball of your foot on the block and then let the heels sink down towards the floor. Trying to keep the knees straight. If you have a tendency towards hyperextension, make sure you're not popping this knee way back. You want to feel pulling up on the back and the front of the knee evenly. Let's try one foot at a time. So you're going to put your foot in the middle of the block. This other foot can kind of just help you balance, make sure the block doesn't tip over, and then let that heel sink down. Then switch to the other side. And let the heel sink down. Find your chair or something else to hold on to, and we're going to work on a quad stretch. Hold on to the back of your foot. Glue your knees together here, so we don't want the knees to be separated. Then you're going to feel your abdominals pull in, spine stays straight. Pull the knee in towards your butt without letting this knee come forwards here. If you want, you can use both hands to give yourself more pressure or hold on to your chair. Switching sides. Glue the knees together first. Belly button to spine, tailbone down. Pull the leg in without letting that knee shoot forwards. Next, we're going to work on our splits. So if you have your blocks, they can be useful in helping to hold you in your position, especially if you're not all the way down yet in your split. So you're going to, I would also like you to start on your bad side. So for me, my left is not quite as flexible. I'm going to start with my left leg going forwards. So I bring the leg out in front of me. I'm going to bring the blocks forwards. Hinge forward. We're first going to stretch out the front of this hip. Tailbone is trying to point down, and I'm trying to keep this hip forwards. If you open this hip here, now I don't feel any stretch. So bring it forwards. Abs in. You can look up towards the ceiling. Then you're going to hinge back. Feel that front leg stretch. Then, holding your blocks here, you're going to try to keep your hips as square as possible for as long as possible. So try your square split first. For me, I can't get all the way down in the square split. So I'm going to just hold it here and try to keep this hip bone pointing forwards. Then you're going to continue. If you can slide farther into your split, try not to open this hip. Doing your best to stay as square as possible. And then if you can slide all the way down, go ahead and reach into that split. If you're comfortable here in your split, you can fold forward. If you're not all the way down yet, just keep holding wherever you're at. That's how you get more flexible. And arching back. If you can go back farther than this, then go for it. And then switch to the other leg. Hinge forward, keep this hip bone pointed forwards. Arching back a little bit with your upper body. Feel that stretch across the front of the hip. And then give that hamstring a stretch. Again, trying to keep the hip bone square. Then, keeping that square position, slide first into a square split, trying to hold it as square as possible. This is your ideal. This is what you're trying to do when you're doing a split, is to stay square. See if you can slide down a little bit farther. Wherever you're at, keep holding. If you can slide all the way into your split, go for it. I'm also feeling my shoulders trying to stay square. My hips are not quite square, but I'm trying my best to hold them forwards and square off my shoulders. If you're comfortable here, fold forwards. And hinge back. And then come out of your split. This next stretch can be a little bit uncomfortable, but it's one of my favorite stretches. So I encourage you to try it and see if you find it useful. You're going to lay down on your back. Lengthen this leg out. Pull this knee into your chest. Take the leg up. You're going to flex the foot. Grab your little toe. The leg will probably be bent, but if you're able to straighten it, that works as well too. You're going to turn the leg across the body, so you're reaching over to this side. I'm going to take my opposite hand here, grab the top of this split. Now, you're going to pull this leg backwards as much as possible. So now I'm feeling a stretch through my quadriceps here. And then rest your shoulders down onto the floor. So I'm trying to straighten this leg as much as possible, trying to pull this leg back as far as possible, and trying to feel both shoulder blades on the floor, or as close as possible. And then you can even take your head and look away from your straight leg. Let go of your legs. Hug your knees into your chest, and let's try the other side. So, pull this leg in, grab your little toe, knee can be bent or straight, Pull it across your body. Then you're going to bend this leg, grab your foot, pull it backwards. From here, trying to get your shoulder blades as close as possible to the floor and looking away from your straight leg. You might feel a lot of different things stretching during this stretch. So I feel my quad stretching on my bent knee. I feel my hamstring stretching on my straight leg. And I even feel a twisting sensation through my spine. Pull your knees into your chest. Next, we're going to do a stretch where we actually let our legs turn in. So you're going to walk your feet out wider than your hips. Keep your lumbar spine, that's your low back, attached to the floor. And then you're going to feel your legs fold in towards the center. If your knees touch already, you can walk your legs a little farther and see if that gives you more stretch. Check and make sure your back isn't coming off the floor. Keep it attached. And then let's turn the legs out. So you're going to put the feet together, bring them up as close to you as possible, and then you can put a little pressure here on the thighs to open the knees. Again, I'm keeping the abs engaged, not going like this. Roll over onto your stomach. Keep your legs slightly separated. Place your hands just slightly wider than your shoulders. I'm going to slowly press up. Now, when you do these stretches, you want to still keep your abdominals pulling in, and that way you're not putting excess pressure on your lumbar spine. So I'm thinking of my belly button lifting up towards the ceiling, or in towards my spine. And then I arch back. You may want to bend your knees and touch your head to your toes if that's possible for you. I'm not able to do that. And relax back down. Hug your knees really tight, and we're going to roll back and forth with a really round spine. Tuck your chin into your chest. Great work today. I encourage you to keep stretching. If you do a little bit every day, it adds up and it makes a big difference.